Hey guys, Jodie here and welcome back to my channel and welcome to another furniture painting video. In today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to get this smoky look here. We're going to do a little bit of blending and rusting. We're going to make it look super pretty but still also just a tiny bit rustic. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Alright, today we're starting with a base layer of Putty from the Dixie Belle Chalk Mineral Paint range. I am applying it with a synthetic brush. This is the flat large brush and I'm basically just getting a base on there right now. I'm not using any water, I want it nice and textured. I'm going in different directions with my brush to create different brush strokes, and the goal here is just to get some really good thick coverage. I'm doing some blending here and I'm starting with Aubergine, which is this nice dark purple. I'm going to show you the side of the piece because then I can show you the whole thing without it, you know, taking forever, and you can see it all much easier on camera, so I just thought it would be easier to show you the side. So all I have here is a synthetic brush. I think it might be something like the flat medium or something like that. It doesn't really matter because this brush has just been used to get the paint on, and I'm just starting by placing the paint where I want it. So I've placed the Aubergine on the bottom and now I have Muscadine Wine, and I am very slightly blending some of that into the Aubergine and just putting it and placing it where I need it just to start with. Now this is the important brush, and this is the oval medium brush that I'm using here, which is the perfect synthetic brush for a soft smoky blend. And all I'm doing is I am blending it out in different directions, and then once I'm happy with the blend I am then just creating little circular movements just to kind of get that smokiness. My brush was a tiny little bit too damp for this. You should go in there with a dry brush, it makes it a lot easier. And then just mist the furniture a little bit just to get the paint moving. And also when you do this kind of look, you don't want it perfectly blended. You don't want brush strokes, but you also just want to have some of the, you know, you want to have some outlines of the paint just to get that smokiness. Next up, I have a custom colour that I made with a 50-50 solution of Amethyst with Plum Crazy and just a tiny splash of Muscadine Wine just to get this very soft, pretty purpley colour. I'm just doing the same again. I am using the same brush to apply the paint with. Whenever I feel like there's too much excess, I'm just wiping it off onto a damp rag and I'm just placing the paint where I need it. And then once I'm happy with my paint placement, I'm then coming in with my oval medium brush and just sort of fanning it out a little bit, but mostly just using those circular movements just to get that smoky blend. And you know, you can pull it down as much as you want, you can pull it up as much as you want, there's no right or wrong here. You just want it to look, you know, a little bit rustic. You don't want it to look too perfect if you want it, you know, to have that kind of edge to it. Above my custom made colour I applied some putty, and you can see here it's blending in really nicely. It's kind of creating its own lighter version of the custom made colour, and again same thing, just applying it where I want it with my first brush that I used, and then I'm going to come in with my oval medium and just start blending that out again. This is where things can get a little bit tricky because it's a lighter colour, but don't panic, just take your time, and whenever you feel like there's too much excess, just come in and wipe your brush again. So because my brush was a little bit too damp, I actually came in with a mini brush which was dry and just, sorry no, it's a mini angled brush actually, and just wafted it out a little bit just because the water was making it all slosh around too much. The trick is not to use too much paint or water when doing a look like this, but you don't need to do that if you don't want to, as long as your brush is nice and dry. And then at the top here I used French linen, which is a very lovely neutral colour, a very warm neutral. It's sort of a soft brown with a little bit of grey in it. It looks whiter on camera than it actually was. And again, just applying that where I need it, and then coming in with my oval medium brush and blending it out again. What I also decided to do was put a little bit of the French linen on my mini angled brush. It can be any brush that you want, to be fair, it doesn't need to necessarily be this, and then just pat it around, and this again is just to add a bit of a patina and cloudiness. Okay, and what I have here is Pearlescent Glaze, one of the blue gator hide sponges, and now this is totally dry, I'm just going to come in and add a little glaze. Again, as I'm applying the glaze, I'm going to use those circular movements so that I can get even the glaze looking a little bit smoky. If you want the Pearlescent Glaze to be really strong, I would recommend putting a clear coat on first, because the glaze can soak into the chalk paint a little bit, but I'm not looking for really strong here. I just want it to look a tiny little bit more glam, so I just went in and applied the glaze straight over the chalk mineral paint. Again, when doing this, the trick is not to go in with a crazy amount of glaze, and if you have too much, then wipe off any excess off your sponge, and then just softly use circular movements and just blur those edges out until it looks nice and soft and smoky. I couldn't help myself, guys. We had this really nice pretty blend going on and I couldn't help myself. I had to come in with a little bit of rusticness. So I'm going to create some rust here, and I'm patting some of the bronze patina paint from the Dixie Belle Patina range, just sort of randomly on this emblem here, and also just randomly in some areas around the edges and the corners and things. The Patina range isn't available in the UK right now, but you can get other metallics out there on the market that will do something similar. So then I have the green patina spray, and all you do while this is wet is spray a little bit of this on, leave it overnight, and then it creates some really cool rust. So you can see this is now starting to look a little bit more grungy, which is my kind of thing. It's just my style, it's what I love. So now with a soft large artist brush, I got some chocolate, which is a nice warm brown, and just went around all of the edges of this piece and just dry brushed a little bit on, just to create a bit of age. I then actually thought the rust may be a little bit too much for this. I don't know, I thought it maybe looked a little bit too rustic and maybe a little bit too dirty. So I always tell you guys it's only paint, and I will always stand by that, and things can be fixed, you can paint over it. So all I did was I got all of my original colours that I used. So here is Aubergine, and I'm just sort of dry brushing a tiny little bit over some of the rust. I don't want to completely get rid of it, but I just want to tone it down a little bit. So I'm just dry brushing some of my original colours in some of the areas where I just want to soften it all up. Again, the trick is not to use a crazy amount as you dry brush. Just put a tiny bit on your brush, and then use your brush just to almost take the excess off the brush and place it on your furniture, and then just keep working those edges until they're nice and soft. Hopefully though, if you guys do a look like this, you won't have to come and fix it because you won't go in with a crazy amount of rust like I have done. But anyway, all I have here now is some putty, and I'm just applying the putty where I applied it before. Again, softly. And you know what, this is rustic, so it kind of works. Things don't always go to plan, and it's okay just to sort of get creative. If that happens, I am then using a French linen at the top there, again, just to soften all of this up. So it's now time to wax this piece, and I am waxing with the Petite Brush. I have put clear on first in the Best Dang wax range, and then I am coming in quite heavy at the bottom there with black wax. I like to put a base of clear wax on first because it can help soften the black wax and help control how much you want to put on there, and then I'm just putting a tiny little bit of black wax at the top where it gets a little bit lighter. You guys are always asking me how I paint my tops, so I've started here with French linen, just using the flat large brush again, which I really like because I can put a lot of paint on my brush and really put it on nice and thick. I'm not using any water, I'm just getting some really good coverage on there, and I am only putting on one layer of this. And then with a fine piece of sanding paper, which is from the Rad Pad range, I just gave this a little sand and finished with black wax. And here's the finished look, guys. Really hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. As always, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, and have a lovely day and happy painting. Bye bye.